Okay, so this is, I think, what could be an interesting style of mock draft. So what I'm doing here is I did kind of the opposite of this, where I did the what if every team just drafted best player available, which I had done in previous years. I've never done something like this, where what I'm doing is the opposite. I'm doing what if every team solely drafted due to need. Whatever their biggest need is, that's what they're drafting. Doesn't matter the player or the situation. So, and I'm factoring in positional value. So if your quarterback, if quarterback is a need, that's what you're going to go after. And for the Bears, the quarterback is a need. They're still going after Caleb Williams. For the Commanders, they're still going after Drake May. And for the Patriots, they're now going to go after Daniels because that is their biggest need. I guess you could kind of argue maybe quarterback isn't their biggest need because they have Brissett, but quarterback's so important. I would consider that their biggest need, so I'm going to go with that there. Then for the Cardinals, they're interesting. I mean, I think luckily for them, wide receiver is still their biggest need, and actually for next two, wide receiver is still their biggest need, Harrison and Neighbors, which is what a lot of people are projecting anyway, and honestly, that's a lot of people's just top 5 prospects, so kind of works out well for those teams. For the Giants, I kind of think quarterback is their biggest need, right? As much as I like Odunze, that's not how we're doing this. And I do think their receiving core, they could use some guys, but I think, Daniel Jones, who, again, he isn't terrible, but it's similar to the Patriots. Quarterback is so important, so I would go with McCarthy. And you could maybe even talk me into quarterback being the biggest need for the Titans, but I won't go there. Offensive line is probably their biggest need, so I'll go with Joe Alt there. For the Falcons, who I think maybe will draft for need. Defensive line probably their biggest concern. So I'll go edge rusher for them. I will go I'll go Leo Latu at this point. I'm going to use the PFF projections here and make things a little easier. You don't have the Bears with their number 2 pick. Defensive line is probably going to be the next one, as I think their receiving core is okay, actually, although I would like another guy. They addressed quarterback. I'll give them Newton at this point for the defensive line. Then we have the New York Jets, who I don't think that wide receiver is their biggest need. They have players there, although I do think it is a need. Same thing of tackle, and even interior defensive line. So I think safety has to be their next biggest need, which, obviously this would never happen, but this is kind of the issue with filling a need sometimes. Sometimes you have to reach. So Tyler Nubin, congratulations, number 10 overall, making some extra money there with this exercise. The Vikings, I think similar to these other teams, their biggest need is going to be quarterback. So Bo Nix, congratulations, you are going here. And then for the Broncos, kind of similar thing. They're going to end up with Michael Penix at this position. So that's where they go. Again, we're just doing needs, and Raiders fans, I'm sorry, but this exercise is not going to do you very good because quarterback is once again going to be their biggest need. There's not many left. So Spencer Rattler, unfortunately, goes pick 13 for the Raiders. Then we have the Saints, who I think tackle is probably their biggest need, so I'll give them Fuaga. That feels about right. For the Colts, is it receiver? Probably. So, hey, Colts fans are happy. Odunze falling to 15, that would obviously never happen. But, if it did, I'm sure they'd be pretty thrilled about it. Seattle's another interesting one where I do agree that kind of linemen in general seem to be their biggest need as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. I don't know. I think that they have, well, I guess center's probably their biggest need, I would say. I don't know what they're going to do at center right now. So I'll give them the best center who is available, which is Jackson Powers-Johnson, which I wouldn't hate that selection if it happened. We then have the Jaguars, who, what's their biggest need? I'm trying to, is it edge rusher or is it interior offensive line? Or is it even, I don't think it's defensive back. I don't get me wrong, I think that is a need. I just think they have other bigger needs. I think it's in between interior offensive lineman and edge. I guess Trayvon Walker could succeed, so you still have that hope. I don't know though, because I don't honestly hate their interior offensive line. I just don't think it's great. Like Mitch Morse isn't a star, but I think he's fine. I don't know. So I guess edge rusher probably has to be their biggest need, I would say. So let's find the best edge rusher, Dallas Turner. Okay, there you go. That's kind of the issue, though, right? That's kind of with the exercise itself. Is like Dallas Turner in a vacuum going number 17 doesn't feel terrible, but also Brock Bowers is on the board. I'd probably rather have him, even though that's not a need. That's kind of where things get interesting. So anyway, The Bengals, who I don't know why corner never gets talked about with them, because that makes sense to me. But I guess I don't know. People like their corner situation. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I thought they could use another guy. Personally, I like Mike Hilton and Cam Taylor-Britt, but who else? But that's not their biggest need for sure. They have tight ends listed as their biggest need, as a need. So could that be it? They do have Drew Sample though, so it's like. Is it the worst scenario for them? What about interior defensive line? And can they have B.J. Hill? They have Sheldon Rankins. I don't know if it's that either. It's probably, I don't know. They added Trent Brown, so Trent Brown or Orlando Brown Jr. I guess it's tight end. I guess I'll give him Brock Bowers. So Brock Bowers does not fall too much longer. So I'm sure you can rejoice there, Cincinnati Bengals fans. Next up for the Rams, there's plenty of needs, but I really think offensive interior off the ball linebackers is what I'm trying to say. Tongue is getting a little twisted and recorded a decent amount of these mock drafts in one day. So I'm gonna go Peyton Wilson. He's the top linebacker. Again, its biggest need, and then top player on the board. That's how we're doing it. For the Steelers, you can make the argument it's still quarterback, but they've addressed it a little bit. I wouldn't make that argument, and quite frankly. There's positions of weakness for this team, but it does feel like they have kind of some answers everywhere. I do kind of wonder if wide receiver is their biggest need. Like, is that how we feel about things? I think so. I think wide receiver is their biggest need. Brian Thomas Jr. would not be mad at this selection at all if it happens. I think the Dolphins could really use an offensive lineman. So, or is it interior defensive lineman? That's they put that as a need. That's a good point because they did lose Wilkins. So. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking through it right now. Austin Jackson actually had a decent year last year. But they could definitely use an inside. They could really use an inside guy. On the offensive line, could probably use a tackle as well. But they could really use an inside guy. And inside in general on both sides of the ball is quite frankly terrible. So I'll count both of them as biggest needs. And Byron Murphy is the next guy on either side. So we'll go with that. As for the Eagles, linebacker is probably their biggest needs. So, again, sorry, Eagles fans. This is not going to end up going too well. Although I like Edgerrin Cooper a lot, actually. I think he's underrated. But either way, that's where he's at. As for the Vikings, so they added a quarterback, Bo Nix. So that's not a need anymore. What is their next biggest need? The Vikings are interesting with their needs on PFF. Like it has tight end as need. Like they have T.J. Hawkinson. Maybe you won't have him for forever, but like it's certainly not a pressing need. I would say. I don't know who's gonna play guard for them, so I'll give them an interior offensive lineman. I'll give them Christian Hayes. He's the highest guard here. So again, kind of a reach, but that's what's going to happen here when you draft for need first. So for the Dallas Cowboys, what is their big? They don't have a center. Like they just don't have one right now. So I guess center has to be by default their biggest need. Zach Frazier goes here. Then you have the Green Bay Packers, who their needs are listed as offensive line and interior defensive line. They also have a safety need, is what our friends at PFF stated. It add Xavier McKinney, but yeah, who else is playing safety? Safety is their biggest need right now. So let me give them a Javon Bullard goes here in the first round of this exercise. Tampa Bay, my team, my favorite team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have a lot of needs available. You could maybe make the argument running back could be, but I don't know. I feel like they've gotten decent play out of that last year. Definitely interior offensive line feels like a big weakness, but I think edge rusher is probably the biggest weakness, right? I mean, that seems like kind of a bit of a black. I don't know. Is it interior offensive line? I think we'll say interior offensive line or edge rusher, whichever comes. No, I'm going to say interior offensive line. I think that's the biggest weakness. So Christian Mahogany. I evaluated him a little bit, yeah, but he's going to go here at number 26. So well done. I would not love that selection as a Tampa Bay fan. Just going to say that. The Cardinals, who addressed wide receiver, they have other positions they need to address at this point, certainly. It's interesting with them. So you have I think I'm going with corner for them. I know they've addressed it a little bit, but I feel like they really could use another corner. So, hey, Cooper DeJean, 9th on PFF's big board. He goes here at number 27. So there you go. The Bills are another interesting team. I kind of think wide receiver, for what they're trying to do right now, they desperately need a wide receiver. So I'm going to give them a wide receiver. Donnie Mitchell, there you go. That's a good draft pick, which feels unusual after the run we've just had. And then I would say for the Lions, I think edge rusher is their biggest need, which, Jared Verse, which that could happen maybe, although I think he'll probably be gone by then. The Ravens are another fascinating team where they have needs, but they're listed. But, like, they're kind of okay, I feel like, at most of these things, right? Like, okay, offensive line is listed. I guess guard. They could use a guard. Well, okay, this is going to be tough for the poor Ravens fans as, currently the 94th ranked prospect, Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State. He's going to be selected here at number 30, so there you go. 31, definitely offensive line for the 49ers. I don't think it matters exactly which position. I would just say not center, so, who's the highest? Okay, they can get, the 14th ranked player goes at 31 here, and then the Chiefs, their biggest position, probably tackle. So I'll go tackle for them, which is kind of funny because now they're getting a good player. So, of course, the Chiefs end up with a good player, but I want to kind of go through the list. I mean, you got guys like Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, Fajanu's going pick at 32, J.C. Latham, Nate Wiggins, Amarius Mims, Kool-Aid McKinstry, all those guys not getting drafted in the first round because everyone's drafting for needs. So, again, what does this mean? I mean, I'd say that, like, there are times when drafting for need is very much not something you should do, but we kind of knew that. It was just kind of a fun exercise, I think. But yeah, that's the all drafting for need mock draft. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.